Meet Mona Kawaii, a stunning girl who turned heads from birth. And that's how it's been her whole life. Everyone was captivated by her charm. All wanted to be near her, even in hide and seek, hoping she'd find them. She was like the queen bee wherever she went. For high school, she moves to Tokyo, where it's the same old story. Everyone stares, enchanted by her beauty at school. All except Medaka, a new transfer student from 2 weeks ago. He's the only guy Mona's met who always scowls at her. Mona tries to befriend him, but Medaka just frowns and tells her to leave. The other boys are shocked and annoyed by Medaka's behavior. For Mona, this rejection is a blow to her queen bee status. But she doesn't give up and seeks ways to get closer to Medaka, aiming to win him over. She notices that Medaka likes cats, so she enters cat mode, making kitty gestures and purring at him. Her fans are delighted, but Medaka's the opposite, purring back to keep her distance. Mona's left stunned, and others can't believe it either. All her life since childhood, everyone fought for Mona's attention. She even received confessions, some from older people. She can't stand the thought of someone resisting her charms, but she doesn't think he's unbreakable, so she uses her secret weapons. First, her thighs, which drive boys crazy. She's putting up a poster showing off her legs in Medaka's face, but he just frowns and leaves. Mona's defeated again, but persists, now revealing a stronger asset, her underwear. She pretends to fall on purpose, and the boys around her worry. She acts clumsy and blushing, asking if they saw anything. The boys nervously say no, but Mona's just trying to see Medaka's reaction to her sexy clumsiness. He just frowns again and leaves. Mona realizes Medaka's immune to everything, so she resorts to her last trick. In class, Mona fakes being sick and asks the teacher if she can go to the infirmary. The teacher agrees and asks for a volunteer. Mona throws herself at Medaka, saying he'll go with her, shocking everyone. But this is Mona's plan, to corner Medaka and flirt with him. Mona's never gone this far for a boy, but seeing Medaka resist her, she'll do this to keep her reputation as the irresistible girl. Mona acts shy, asking if he dislikes her or if she did something wrong, since he always frowns and is distant with her. Mona finally seems to have Medaka cornered, seeing him nervous, but he suddenly regains his composure. Mona thinks she's got him, so she doesn't want to back down now. She pulls him inside, trips on the curtain, and they both fall onto the infirmary bed. This is too much even for Mona. She apologizes, but seeing Medaka's dismissive look, she can't take it. It's a blow to her pride. Medaka's unfazed, despite having the world's beauty on top of him. Blinded by the situation, she desperately shows her beauty, forcefully unbuttoning her blouse. Protecting her queen bee status makes her act uncharacteristically, yet Medaka remains stoic. Now Mona truly feels defeated. She's drowsy and throws a tantrum when someone resists her charms. In her fit, she nearly falls off the bed. Medaka catches her before she hits the floor and asks if she's alright. This calms Mona, but she realizes her chest is exposed and asks him to let go for a moment. Medaka snaps back, flustered, saying he didn't mean anything inappropriate. He frowns and says he'll return to the room. Before leaving, he tells Mona these things should only be done with someone she truly loves. His sincere words stir Mona's heart, leaving her flustered and wondering why she lets Medaka affect her so much. Later, Mona returns to class. Everyone asks if she's okay. She says yes, but feels Medaka's gaze from across the room. She thanks him for caring for her while sick, but can't look him in the eye due to nerves. Medaka's gaze follows her, making her even more anxious. Medaka's intense stare leaves her frozen in place. She thinks these nerves mean love, but denies it, hitting her head to stop such thoughts. Now she's determined to make Medaka fall for her, planning to capture his heart. Next day, Mona arrives at school, greeted as usual, mentally singing about her beauty. Medaka interrupts her. Mona greets him kindly, but he responds out of obligation. Mona's still annoyed that she's always giving her the stink eye. Medaka was frowning and Asahi blushed while looking at him. Her friend Minami asks what's wrong, but Asahi says it's nothing. In PE class, Mona seizes the chance to flaunt her physical assets. Everyone's watching her except Medaka. Mona tries to call him directly, but he ignores her. Once again, Mona fails to grab his attention. She tried with her butt and breasts, but it didn't work. Then she thinks of another weapon she has. No, not that extreme. Let's go back to episode 1. She's referring to her belly button. After class, she wipes sweat, lifting her shirt to show her midriff. While everyone feels blessed, Medaka frowns again. He leaves, repeating clear mind, pure spirit to himself over and over again. And once more, Mona is defeated. Spirits low, she pursues the only boy who resists her. She notices he gets nervous when she's near. A small win for Mona, but she's too tired to tease him more. Before leaving, she gets some water. Medaka sees her growing more anxious. Mona notices he seems to react to her. Excited, she squeezes the tap, splashing water everywhere. Her shirt gets soaked, revealing her bra. Medaka yells, red-faced. Mona screams, realizing she's exposed. She tries to cover up, but can't go back like this. Medaka, being a gentleman, gives her his shirt. Mona blushes more, especially seeing Medaka's abs. She wanted him to see her navel, but saw his instead. Mona thanks him, and Medaka leaves. A classmate witnessed the whole thing. Medaka heads home. He worries his shirt might smell of sweat. He blushes, thinking his shirt might now smell like Mona. That's when Mona's admirers show up. They want to ask Medaka why he's always cold and distant to Mona. So Medaka explains. Turns out he's heir to a temple, a feline temple, and he's forbidden from getting close to girls. They ask if he's ever had a girlfriend. Medaka says no. His village only had old folks and goats. I'd rather not imagine what desperate boys did with those goats. The admirers finally get why Medaka treats Mona that way. Medaka never thought the city would be a sea of temptations. He'd only seen cute girls like Mona on TV. Having one nearby and flirting with him no less, it makes him...
I didn't care anymore!
But no, Medaka shakes off any impure thoughts. He repeats to himself, clear mind, pure spirit. Medaka vows to live a life free from temptations and worldly thoughts, but it's going to be tough. In class, Mona returns his shirt. Medaka's a bit nervous. Mona seizes the chance to make him blush, saying she abused his shirt, asking if he'd have preferred she didn't, so his shirt would smell like her. Medaka blushes but frowns. Same old story. Now Mona aims to make Medaka fall for her. In art class, Mona's modeling for Medaka, who maintains a clear mind and focused spirit. Mona's willing to do anything for Medaka's painting, jokingly saying no nudes, but Medaka's face turns serious. Mona's master plan, model for Medaka to showcase her beauty, recalling how Medaka couldn't stop staring after sports. She recreates that same pose. Everyone's charmed by Mona's cuteness, but Medaka resists temptation like a champ. Mona's defeated again. Medaka paints normally, not blushing at all, which annoys Mona. She notices classmate Haruno staring for a while, then sees Medaka fixated on her too. Medaka focuses on Mona's neck to paint it, making Mona blush from the intense attention. Mona rushes out for air, wishing Medaka would look at her like that more often. Medaka finishes painting. Friends ask about the photo, making her blush. She keeps a clear mind. In the library, Mona approaches Medaka to read together. She notices Haruno still watching, but realizes he might not be looking at her, but at Medaka instead. She wonders if Haruno could be in love with Medaka, and considers that Medaka might like girls like Haruno. She feels she must act quickly to win Medaka's heart before someone else does. She decides to emulate Haruno, who's calm and studious. Putting on glasses, she reads elegantly, making Medaka blush. Mona goes all out, playfully tapping Medaka's leg. But Medaka stays focused, keeping a clear mind and spirit. Medaka ignores Mona again, defeating her. Mona notices Haruno's admiring gaze, confirming she's head over heels for Medaka. Mona gets defensive, not wanting to lose Medaka, so she scopes out her rival. She notices Haruno's a sweetheart, diligent, organized, and kind, basically perfect. Mona's anxiety grows, realizing her rival's great qualities. She checks for physical traits too, finding Haruno's got it all. Plus, Haruno's modest about her looks, unlike the self-centered Mona. Mona's bummed, realizing she's up against a sweet girl. Tough competition. The glasses guy brings Mona a book she wanted. She thanks him, saying she loves it. She realizes she's never told Medaka she loves him. So she tries. On the roof, she tosses her handkerchief for Medaka to catch, hoping to thank him. Just as she's about to confess her love, the words won't come out. No matter how hard she tries, she can't say, "I love you." She's too nervous. She wonders why it's so hard now when she said it easily before. The wind starts to pick up. Her skirt lifts and Mona seizes the chance to call him a pervert, escaping the awkward moment. In the end, nothing changed. Now they're picking members for the school festival committee. As fate would have it, Haruno and Mona are chosen. Mona can't believe she has to work with her rival, while Haruno seems delighted. This annoys Mona more, thinking Haruno doesn't see her as competition. Her queen bee instinct warns her about sweet, kind girls like Haruno. Haruno gets nervous, not wanting Mona to see her phone. Mona suspects Haruno's hiding something important, but Haruno says she'll get upset if she sees it. Mona chases her, yelling she won't be mad as long as Haruno doesn't try to take her Medaka. Mona catches up and checks Haruno's phone, finding it full of photos of herself. Haruno didn't want Mona to see this, fearing she'd be angry about being watched. It turns out Haruno was observing Mona because she's her biggest fan. She took about 300 photos and set one as her phone's lock screen. Mona realizes Haruno isn't interested in Medaka, but she'd been yelling at her to stay away from him. To avoid seeming obsessed with Medaka, Mona claims she meant Medaka fish, telling Haruno to stay away from her fish, not the Medaka in their class. But Haruno knows everything, having observed Mona's clear infatuation with Medaka all along. While it seems obvious, Mona doesn't want Haruno to think that. The school festival's here, but Mona's not feeling great. She still can't break through Medaka's barrier. To make matters worse, Haruno thinks Mona's head over heels for Medaka. Haruno tells Mona the festival's perfect for winning her knight's heart. He's right, plus there's a legend. Couples who hold hands on the love bridge are destined to be together. The class plans a costume cafe. Mona tries outfits to quicken Medaka's pulse, donning a sexy bunny suit. But it's too much, even for her. For better or worse, Medaka shows up. Mona gets nervous, says she's just trying on costumes. Meanwhile, Medaka keeps reminding himself to keep a clear mind and spirit. Haruno's about to enter, and Mona doesn't want him to see her like this. He might think she's so desperate for Medaka's love that she's wearing revealing outfits. She hurriedly pulls Medaka to hide, not realizing how cramped their hiding spot would be. Mona feels incredibly close to him, even sensing his breath. Both are tense in this situation. Mona and Medaka's hearts are racing, but Mona's more so, as Medaka has the power of a clear mind and spirit. Eventually, Haruno is called away elsewhere. Mona and Medaka emerge. Having been forced into this, Mona thinks she's finally won Medaka over, but Medaka remains as serious as ever. In the end, none of this worked to make him fall for her. She looks in the mirror, realizing how daring and far from cute this outfit is. She accidentally says this last thought out loud, voicing what she was thinking. Hearing her say that, Medaka tells her she actually does look pretty. Mona reacts to Medaka calling her cute, thinking he's finally fallen for her charm. She thinks she'll be the queen bee, but Medaka keeps ignoring her as usual. The school festival arrives, and their class cafe is a hit, thanks to Mona's beauty. Asahi's at the cafe, here just to see Medaka, but he's in the kitchen. Mona urges Medaka to take a break, noting he hasn't left the kitchen all day. Medaka initially refuses, saying he doesn't need a break. Mona's noticed Medaka's been more distant since the costume incident. But she won't give up. Today's her chance to settle things once and for all. Haruno arrives and orders Medaka to promote the cafe with Mona, hoping they'll spend time together. She thinks Mona likes Medaka, but Mona allows it as it fits her plan. Mona plans to visit emotional spots at the festival, but Medaka's excited about a haunted house, which Mona dislikes. She reluctantly enters. Scared, her skirt gets caught on a cardboard prop. She runs out frightened, dragging the prop. All of Mona's festival plans go terribly wrong. Time's running out when they reach the Bridge of Love for eternal romance. Mona sees couples on the bridge while the cafe struggles. Medaka, the only skilled cook, is absent, which Sagi laments. Sagi must leave for club, disappointed to miss seeing Medaka. On the love bridge, couples see Mona and think she's with her boyfriend. If Mona doesn't act, people will think she loves Medaka, just as Haruno does. So she pretends she's there to promote her costume cafe, which works. People believe her. Still, Mona doesn't want to waste this chance and tells Medaka about the love bridge legend. If you hold hands with someone, you're destined to love that person forever. Then, Mona brushes Medaka's hand to make her heart race, which works. But Mona doesn't stop there. She now pretends she can't walk, so Medaka has to hold her hand. But Medaka does something Mona never expected. He picks her up, tells her to hurry back to class. Mona blushes, scolding herself for always blushing because of Medaka, when it should be the other way around. Despite this, Mona won't give up. The festival's almost over and she must hurry. Her class needs help with the cafe, as after promoting the Bridge of Love, several couples have come to the cafe needing assistance. Mona seems to have lost hope, but Haruno won't let her friend miss out. She sends Medaka to help Mona move tables. Again, Haruno's helping Mona, but Mona's so down from recent setbacks, she's not in the mood to tease Medaka. An awkward silence follows. Mona asks Medaka if he enjoyed the festival. She then trips over boxes and one's about to hit her head. Medaka saves her just in time, grabbing her hands. As if by fate, he holds her hands inside the Bridge of Love. Blushing, Medaka tells her the legend doesn't work now since the festival's over. Mona, also blushing, agrees. Answering her question, Medaka says he felt things he'd never experienced before at the festival. Mona blushes even more. The festival ends with several new couples formed. It seems the Bridge of Love did its job. Mona spots Medaka and her heart races. When he turns, she quickly hides. Mona wonders why she hid. She shouldn't be shy with him, so she nervously greets him. Friends suggest bowling. Mona sees a chance to win Medaka's heart, but gets nervous around him. Recalling the festival makes her flustered, but she's determined not to be shy. She gathers courage to talk to him. To prove she's not nervous around him, she grabs his bottle, planning an indirect kiss since Medaka drank from it too. But Mona wants to make Medaka's heart race, not hers, so she boldly takes the indirect kiss. Expecting an emotional reaction from Medaka, she's met with his usual serious face again. Mona feels defeated once more, but Medaka is secretly affected by Mona's actions. The next day, Mona tries to forget everything and her nerves, returning to her usual self. She attempts to approach Medaka kindly, but he still rejects her advances. Fed up, his friends confront Medaka outside school. Sho scolds him for mistreating Mona despite her efforts. Medaka claims he must resist temptation to uphold his principles as temple heir. Yuzuru asks if that means being unkind. Medaka is lost in thought. Haruno arrives, also telling her she's mistreating Mona, but more heatedly. Onlookers assume they're breaking up. People always think it's about couples. Haruno leaves, reminding Medaka of her mistakes. Medaka realizes they're right. Despite everything, Mona is a kind-hearted girl. In class, Mona forgets her book. Medaka tries to return the kindness by sharing hers. Mona happily tries to join desks, but Medaka pulls away. Mona's hurt by this. Nearby, Sho and Yuzuru try to reason with Medaka. Haruno's watching too. Medaka apologizes, explaining her surprise. She joins the desks to share the book. Friends are proud of Medaka, and Haruno is happy for Mona. She takes the chance to snap a photo of Mona smiling. After that small win, Mona happily heads to school in the rain, and as fate would have it, she runs into Medaka. Mona sees a chance to win his heart, since after recent events, Medaka's no longer distant with her. Medaka's without an umbrella because he left it with some kittens caught in the rain. This kind act makes Mona's heart race, but she's the one who needs to get Medaka's heart racing, so she offers to share her umbrella. Medaka reluctantly accepts, but keeps his distance from her. Mona notices he's getting wet, so she moves closer to cover both of them, but Medaka still tries to maintain space. At school, they see the basketball players, with Asagi standing out for her skills. But when Asagi notices Medaka watching, she gets nervous and falls, causing the ball to bounce towards Mona's face. But Medaka swiftly saves her from a hard hit. Another of Medaka's actions that makes Mona's heart race. Asagi drags Mona aside to ask her something if she's Medaka's girlfriend. Surprised by Asagi's boldness, Mona says she's not dating Medaka and doesn't even like him. Asagi doubts her, noting they're always together and share umbrellas like couples do. Asagi gets aggressive, but her friends hold her back. As they leave, Mona suspects Asagi likes Medaka, seeing her nervousness around him. Asagi transforms from a bold girl to a shy one. Asagi blushes so hard she falls, accidentally revealing too much. Mona thinks it's intentional, but Asagi's just nervous and leaves without a word. Medaka now knows Asagi better, worrying Mona, who fears losing him to her. Then in PE class, she shows she can be good at basketball too, so whenever Medaka thinks of a great player, he'll think of her, not Asagi. Mona proves to be skilled at basketball, unlike Medaka, who's terrible at it. Mona offers to teach him, but tries to seduce him in the process. Medaka tries to stay focused, but Mona goes all out. She presses against his back, too much even for her, but can't stop now. Asagi arrives, gets upset and declares war on Mona. Asagi wants to teach Medaka too, suggesting strength exercises. As he bends down, Medaka sees Asagi's exposed chest. Mona's shocked, thinking it's intentional, so she follows suit, showing off her assets. Asagi and Mona compete to see who can fluster Medaka more, who's already quite flustered. But what really pushes him over the edge is Asagi's million-dollar question. Seeing both girls flaunting their chests, Asagi asks Medaka if he prefers big or small. Medaka loses it and bolts. The love rivals stare at each other, then both regret their actions. After the incident, Medaka hasn't returned to class. Mona thinks it's because Asahi upset her with his direct flirting, but recalls Medaka was sneezing, which could mean she got sick from being in the rain when she was walking away from Mona while sharing an umbrella. Medaka's friends plan to visit him at home. Mona overhears and sees a chance, and Asahi's also alert. So Mona follows the boys to Medaka's house, but Asahi follows too. When the friends leave, the girls enter, and Medaka's surprised to find two girls at his door. He'd never invited girls over, yet they enter confidently. They came to care for him while he's sick, each trying to outdo the other in nursing him. But Mona wouldn't miss this chance. She donned a nurse outfit to care for Medaka, unaware Asahi had similar plans. Asahi dressed as a doctor, surprising Medaka. Mona regretted her choice as she'd brought the costumes and Asahi boldly took the other one. As Medaka rests, Mona questions Asahi about her interest in him. Unlike Asahi, who genuinely likes him, Mona has no real interest. She just wants to make him fall for her, like all boys, to keep her queen bee status. But Asahi's motives are different. She wants to be with Medaka, do couple things, like kissing. Asahi blushes at this and leaves to buy a drink, warning Mona not to try anything strange with Medaka. While she's away, Asahi steps out and recalls the moment he fell in love. Leaving the classroom, he overhears girls chatting about love at first sight. Asahi thought it silly, but bumping into Medaka, the phrase suddenly clicked. Asahi falls for Medaka instantly. Mona wonders if she's in love too. She denies it, but her thoughts say otherwise. Mona goes to see Medaka. She sits on his bed. Medaka stirs, reaching for Mona while still asleep. Mona sees him vulnerable, eyes on his lips. After Asahi's words, she's curious about kissing him. As she leans in, Asahi arrives. Angry, he confronts Mona, asking why she tried to kiss Medaka if she claims not to like him. Mona panics, unsure herself. She tries to hide it but can't, then blurts out that trying to win Medaka's heart just because he's the only one immune to her charms. Asahi finally understands why Mona's so forward with Medaka. Though she claims it's just for fun, Asahi knows she really likes him. She officially declares herself his rival in love, but they also become sort of friends. Haruno gets jealous and sees Asahi as a rival for Mona's friendship. Eventually, Medaka recovers and returns to class. Asahi goes back to her classroom, nervous about seeing her crush. Mona's also anxious, unable to face or speak to Medaka since the incident at his house. When Medaka tries to talk to her, it's his first time taking initiative. But Mona, too nervous, always makes excuses to avoid him. Suddenly Mona faints. It turns out she's fallen ill. She wakes up in the infirmary with Medaka there. He wanted to thank her for taking care of him. Mona's heart races, especially when she imagines how Medaka might have carried her to the infirmary. All this makes her blush, though she tries to blame it on the fever, not on Medaka. But Mona's slowly falling for Medaka when it should be the other way around. She's conflicted, her heart racing even more as she pictures Medaka carrying her. This makes her blush harder, though she wants to think it's just the fever, not her feelings for Medaka. But Mona's gradually falling for Medaka, despite her efforts to resist. It's becoming clear that she's the one falling in love, when it should have been Medaka falling for her instead. Medaka's friends set a sexy girl's photo as his phone's lock screen. They claim it's to help him build resistance to such things. Medaka takes his phone back and leaves. He says he'll delete it, but wants one last look first. Medaka's not as resilient now, all because of Mona. Speaking of her, she's with Haruno. Haruno plans to send Medaka a cute photo of Mona to help her. Mona agrees, then regrets it seeing the nervous photo chosen. Anyone would think Mona's madly in love with him. She asks Haruno to delete it, but his phone dies. Desperate, Mona rushes to delete it from Medaka's phone. Medaka's on the roof, hiding to look at a striking photo on his phone. He's about to delete it when Mona suddenly shows up. She sternly tells him not to look at that photo. Embarrassed, Medaka fumbles and his phone flies into Mona's hands. Mona proceeds to delete the message. She glimpses Medaka's lock screen, truly catching him red-handed. Medaka explains his friend set the photo, but Mona leaves silently. He's puzzled by Mona's new expression, clearly showing jealousy. She's upset he has another girl's photo when she's right there. Since then, Mona's been staring intently at Medaka. He's overheard asking friends not to set such photos again. They mention that guys always have a photo of a pretty girl on their phone, and Mona says, if he's gonna have a girl's pic, it should be hers. So she quickly snaps a selfie and sends it to Medaka to set as his phone background. But Medaka deletes it right away to avoid temptation. Mona's rejected again, and Haruno reminds her Halloween's coming up. Mona thinks Halloween's perfect for a pic Medaka will love enough to use on his phone. But she's unsure what costume he'd like, as bunny and nurse outfits didn't work before. So Mona has the bright idea to go shopping for costumes Medaka might like. They decide to go as a group. Bad news for Mona, Asahi's coming too, invited to Mona's class costume party. So they head to the costume shop. Mona tries on a few, but can't waste time. She needs to know what costume Medaka likes. She also has to keep an eye on Asahi to prevent her from getting ahead. She checks on Asahi first, but sees her so indecisive that she thinks it won't be an issue. Mona leaves and Asahi's friend arrives. Minami came knowing Asahi would struggle to pick a costume to win Medaka over. She helps Asahi choose, making her try on several costumes before finding the perfect one. Meanwhile, Mona spies on the boys and asks Medaka what costume he'd like to see on a girl. But Mona's curiosity gets her caught. Medaka goes to check who's hiding, but Mona hides in the horse costumes. Medaka returns to his friends and points out the costume he'd like to see on a girl. But with the horse mask on, Mona can't see which costume Medaka chose. When the boys leave, Mona checks out what costume Medaka might have picked. She finds a very revealing outfit. Mona thinks it's too much, but she's willing to go all out to win Medaka over. Everyone has now chosen their costumes. Haruno picked a fairy costume. Asahi went for a goth girl look. Mona, thinking Medaka would like it, comes out as a mummy. It's more skin than bandages, of course. Everyone's shocked, thinking Mona's into provocative stuff. Mona waits for Medaka's reaction, but he just frowns again. Blushing hard, Mona yells she's not a pervert. They hear that this mummy outfit was next to Medaka's choice. So Mona dressed as a sexy mummy for nothing. In the end, Mona claims it was just a joke. She says she doesn't like that stuff and will wear her real costume at the party, a costume she's already decided on. Now she'll go all out to win Medaka's heart on Halloween.